to Mint. We have with us today Rahul Garg, the direct tax leader at PwC. We are here to talk about the Parthasarathy Shom Committee recommendations on GAAR. Sir, the recommendations that came on Saturday seem to be heavily favoring the FII investors.
These are recommendations which are generally in favor of the business, and they address the concerns of the business. And you're right that they do address the concerns of FII much more than perhaps FDI, you would say. See, what happens is that the report recommends, and that's a landmark recommendation, I must say, to say that all capital gain should be exempted from listed securities. So if you exempt the capital gain on listed securities, all FII get benefit and all the local investors or domestic investors get benefit. On the other hand, if this is a matter where FDI is invested into India, the report deals with it by saying that all current or existing investments before the GAAR would be grandfathered, which means that if you have an investment today and you sell it 20 years later, you would be treated as if the GAAR was not there. But what happens to the investments that you make after the GAAR comes into play? And the committee says that after the GAAR comes into play, one would need to look at whether the circular 789, the famous circular 789, survives or not. If the circular then survives, then you get the protection of the circular. If the circular is not there, the recommendation provides that you would have application of GAAR subject to if there is a limitation of benefit in any tax treaty from the jurisdictions where you make the investment. So in effect, what is happening is if the capital gain tax on investments in listed security is abolished, the FII have no tax whether they make an investment before or after the GAAR, whereas FDI would be susceptible to be liable to GAAR if they make an investment post the GAAR coming into being, if the circular of 789 is withdrawn in particular.
Okay. There also seem to be some radical changes in terms of having an outside member in the APA panel.
Yeah, so it's a very balancing thing. I must say that the panel composition on something like GAAR, which is heavily dependent on ascertaining and evaluating the commercial substance, requires the skill set of the people who have experience in business. And it is in light of this, I think that the panel recommending that people from business be part of the panel was a very good choice.
Even the mergers and acquisitions seem to have been now made tax neutral, right? A very company friendly.
Yeah, so what happens is that the merger and amalgamations or generally the corporate restructuring which is done through the court process is tax neutral as is provided in law today, but it was apprehended and the businesses raised this as a concern, and which was a major concern, that given the today's economic conditions, a lot of businesses are wanting to bundle or unbundle various parts of it to invite the investments, to put it more efficiently or do it more efficiently. And in all such cases, it involves either an amalgamation or a demerger or a restructuring of that kind. And it was apprehended that such restructuring could be treated and be hit by GAAR. The report recommends very clearly a corporate restructuring would not be hit by GAAR if it is court approved corporate restructuring.
What is the recommendation on the tax deducted at source?
It's actually, if you were to find one thing negative in the report, I would think is this, that the report indicates that at the stage when the withholding tax certificates are being applied, the GAAR could come into being unless the taxpayer gives an undertaking that he would be prepared to pay taxes if the GAAR is later applied. And I think that in any case, if the taxpayer later is subjected to GAAR, he is liable to pay taxes. So there is no requirement or there is nothing that we should do at this stage, because understand this, that the withholding tax is at a transaction level, and every day there are hundreds and thousands of the transactions which get transacted. If we think of even making an inquiry regarding GAAR, it would delay the whole process and could become disruptive to business.
Thank you so much for your thoughts, sir. It does look like that the Parthasarathy Shom Committee has made a number of investor-friendly recommendations in its report. That's all that we have for now. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more.